2 practices in the books for the Buckeyes this week. They've both been edgy, as Ryan Day said. Players are edgy, coaches are edgy. I think they know that a big one is on deck. Ohio State will travel to Oregon on Friday for Saturday night's kickoff, 7:30 on NBC. We're just here to break it down. That's the 41-year vet, Tim May. That's Andy Backstrom. It's me, Spencer Holbrook. Let's talk about it, guys. Ohio State, Oregon. We just talked to quite a few players. We talked to Ryan Day. Carnell Tate will play in this game. He's good to go. That's good news for the local team, the road team on Saturday. Tim, what did you learn from Ryan? What did you learn from these players tonight? Do you feel the confidence?
Well, number one, the edginess, because they know this is the game everybody's watching. I mean, yeah, Iowa was a big game, but this is 2 versus 3, 2 unbeatens. How good is Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
And really, how good is Oregon? You know, I'm not just laying it all on Ohio State. And I think all of these guys, since that, this is a veteran team. I keep coming back to that. And everybody you talk to is quite eager to get on with this challenge. And I think that bodes well for them. You know, who knows how the game's going to go, turnover-wise, anything else that could flip it. But you just sense a veteran team is ready to have its moment in the prime time.
One of those veterans is G. Scott, and he's not a captain on this team, but he definitely has a voice on this team, and we've kind of heard that the last couple of weeks as he's talked to the media here. Ryan Day mentioned him unprompted in the press conference on Tuesday, said he talked to the team. I asked him about it today. He said that actually came up during their reflection, their Bible study time they have with the team, and he said that really his message was that, you know, every day is a drop in the bucket, and that's what this team has done from the start of the offseason, and it was kind of just a way to show the guys that by now the bucket's pretty full, and they're ready to do something here with a big game coming up. And I thought that was an interesting message, and just something to point out because, yeah, there's 4 captains on this team, but there's, as you said, Tim, so many veterans and so mane voices that matter, and G. Scott's is one of them.
I learned that Josh Fryer is a quiet, confident guy. Heard some folks say that, you know, not the most confident message from Josh Fryer tonight, calling Jordan Burch at 6'6", 295 scary, and I know that he used that word, but I didn't view it as.
But I had to ask him about it because, my goodness.
But I'm just saying, I didn't view it as like a Josh Fryer being intimidated by him. He said, yeah, it can be scary, but, you know, we've got a job to do, we got a game to win, and I think this team is pretty confident right now, and Josh Fryer included. Sometimes he's been called the weak link of this offensive line, but he likened defending Jordan Burch to defending Darius Robinson from Missouri last year in the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
Now, Darius Robinson had a pretty good game in that game, but Josh Fryer had a really good offseason, and he feels that he's improved, and he feels that he's come a long way. This is a great measuring stick for both of these tackles. You want to be first-round picks in the NFL draft or high picks, you want to play on Sundays? Go handle business on Saturday. Scouts will see it. So I like what Josh Fryer had to say. You know, just going out and taking care of business. He said he's not crazy about being in the national spotlight because if you do something wrong, then everybody sees it. But then he said, you know, it is what it is. You just go take care of business. So he is such a candid guy. He doesn't really care what we say. He doesn't really care what any fans say. He doesn't care what any outside noise is. He just knows he has to go to work. And sometimes that means he says some stuff that, you know, if that gets clipped and Jordan Burch sees that the tackle was afraid of him, then whatever. Josh Fryer doesn't care. And I think that's a cool thing to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, he didn't say anything inflammatory about it either. I mean, it was you know, let's face it, with a Jordan Burch over there, if you can get a stalemate with Jordan Burch most of the time, I think you've done your part, you know, no matter who it is. And it'll be interesting because he is very talented. He's very athletic for a guy who's 6'6", 290, 300, whatever the weight is. I've seen it all over the board. But their whole defensive front is impressive from an athletic standpoint. And I think that, you know, cliche, but the offensive line versus their defensive line is one of those key things you got to watch on Saturday. It's going to be a real telltale sign who holds sway in that regard.
And here's the other thing that I've taken from all of this. There's been a lot of talk about Jordan Burch this week. Chip Kelly brought him up. Ryan Day brought him up. We asked Josh Fryer about him, and Josh Fryer was very coy other than, you know, giving compliments to him. I think he has their attention, which means I think they have a plan for it, right? I think they No, but what I'm saying is, like, it's not like they're just going up against the Oregon defensive line. Like, they've made it a point. Like, okay, we know that we've got to be good against Jordan Burch. So that's all I'm saying. It's like I think that he's got their attention enough where, like, if there are issues, they'll know how to mitigate those issues against him. What else did you learn? It's not. This isn't the Jordan Burch show, but it's
just the part of the podcast where we say profound stuff.
No. Bold predictions is later. It's on Friday, Tim. It's on Friday, Tim.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking enough about Derek Harmon, but that can be for another video. We'll talk about that on our live stream for sure. But there's other pieces of this Oregon defensive line that are pretty intriguing as well. We talked to Brandon Inniss, and special teams are going to be important in this game as well. You know, he made the point, just as special teams play can lose you a game, it can also win you a game. He said that, you know, Ohio State is willing and ready to make those kinds of plays for itself on special teams. And
ask
of course,
Oregon about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, the 2 returns against Boise State, but Brandon Inniss is waiting for a return of his own. And, you know, I asked him too, last year he was around these big games. You know, you had the road game against Notre Dame, the road game at Michigan. He didn't play in those games, so, you know, if he did, it was 1 or 2 snaps on special teams. Now he's part of this offense. He's part of the special teams unit where he's returning kicks. He said that's a different feeling. It's a good feeling, too. Yeah. And that's the thing. It goes back to Josh Fryer, too. Like, yeah, I mean, there's the national spotlight. And, yes, if you mess up, everyone knows. But also, if you do well, everyone knows, too. And they know that, too. And they embrace that. And the guys that are getting opportunities now, they love that.
Yeah, I think stands out about Brandon Inniss, too. Like I brought up with him when I was asking him a few questions was, on that 4th and 2, they threw the ball to Brandon Inniss against Iowa. And because obviously Carnell Tate wasn't playing that day. And, you know, that lifts not just his confidence, but it lifts the team's confidence in him. But clearly they already had some confidence in him because that was where they went, you know, with the football in a really kind of a still critical little situation there and stuff, and converted once again a Ryan Day go for it 4th down. You know, this is really funny. I'm really intrigued by this matchup too. You know, you only get one question in the lightning round, but Ryan Day and Dan Lanning, I think, have both developed a reputation, definitely Ryan Day this year, for going for it on 4th downs. We remember last year Dan Lanning against Washington in that first meeting, I think it was at Washington, when he went for it kind of like, what are you doing kind of thing, and may have cost them that game in terms of racking up some field goal points. But the bottom line is neither one of these guys are afraid to do that. There's audacity to this matchup as much as anything else. And but yeah, back to Brandon Inniss and Bryson Rogers making a really good catch. Dan Lanning spoke of this in his press conference yesterday, of the depth on their receiver corps. Speaking of Ohio State's, doesn't just stop with the starting 3. Yeah. And you know, it says something for all these guys to make plays like that when it's needed.
Yeah, it does.
Of course, saying something profound.
Yeah, Brandon Inniss, Bryson Rogers both got praise from Ryan Day tonight. I think that's worth noting. You know, just stacking these days, making plays when they get called upon. Now you could see them in games. Maybe it's not against Oregon. Maybe it's not at Penn State. Maybe it's not against Michigan. But, you know, when they're playing Indiana and Purdue and Northwestern down this stretch in Nebraska, like if those guys are in the game earlier and earlier, I wouldn't be surprised because they've built that trust with Ryan Day and with this offense.
Iowa was a legitimate test. I mean, best defense they've gone against yet. Yeah, I'm with you.
I agree. And so when you can instill that confidence, like you said, Andy, or I guess Tim said that, but I think it was to your greater point, is like when you can make plays on special teams or, you know, in the offense, that builds that confidence between you, the trust between you and your position coach, the trust between you and Chip Kelly, you and Ryan Day. That's going to equal more playing time for those guys. And, you know, as we get into this season, this is game 6, like the snap counts are going to start to add up. You don't want too many snap counts for some of these guys. You want them playing into mid-January. Brandon Inniss and Bryson Rogers, I think, are 2 names to watch. I think you should all watch Ohio State and Oregon on Saturday. I know this was a quick video. We're going to get out of here, though, because we're got to get to Oregon. That's the thing we have to do. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom.
We got our Conestoga wagon loaded to hit the Oregon Trail?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
We're going to ford the Missouri River on our way.
I'm just going to sleep in the back. Wake me up when we get there.
Yeah. I used to ford the river on the Oregon Trail, and it was
I did that. Played that game.
The wagon would always sink, and then my kid would die of, you know, dysentery.
Your bottle of your bag of your big barrel of molasses would go floating down the stream.
Yeah. That's the Oregon Trail.
Trail's tough.
Good thing we're taking a plane. Good thing Ohio State's taking a plane, too. The equipment truck, I think, arrived today. Lettermen Row will be arriving here in the coming days. Again, Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, Spencer Holbrook. Go to lettermenrow.com, 50% off using the code Buckeyes. That's right, 50% off. It's a big game special. That means we've got a sale going on at lettermenrow.com. 50% off when you use the code Buckeyes. Go to lettermenrow.com, like the video below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys over in Eugene. It's going to be a freaking awesome weekend for Lettermen Row and for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Get to Lettermen Row right now.